Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. So as most of you already know, because I completely won't shut up about it, I finished the first draft of my first novel a few months ago. And since then, I've been kind of flailing in the void. So I decided to start something new. But of course, me being me, I figured why not make it as hard on myself as humanly possible. So I decided to write it in second person. I mention this not because I want to plug the new project I'm working on, because I'm sure there won't be anything to look at for a very long time. I bring it up because I want to talk about second person. Now, second person is like the lonely middle child of writing perspectives. Everybody knows first person because it's always talking about itself. It just feels kind of natural, like it's always been there. And third person, everybody wants to be with third person. Third person just seems to know more than everyone else. It can read people. Third person keeps a cool distance, but somehow always knows what's going on. Can you tell I'm a youngest child? But with siblings like first person and third person, second person often gets overlooked. It doesn't talk about itself or insist you pay attention to it. It doesn't make grand statements or act like it knows everything. Second person is subtler, quieter, but it also has a strength that a lot of people find difficult to deal with. It can be a little tough to understand sometimes, and that's because second person is all about you. Now, part of the problem is that most of us just don't have the same exposure to second person that we do to first or third. Most of us can count on one hand the number of things we've read in second person. I know I can. This can make it hard to distill exactly what second person is and what it's good for. There just aren't enough data points. And so for that reason, I think it's important to traffic in the familiar. So for me, the best way to understand second person is through the lens of both first and third. Let's start with the bad news. For example, you wake up in the early morning light of your childhood bedroom. You've only been back home living with your parents Rick and Sandra for 3 months now, but to you it already feels like too much. Last night you came home past midnight to find your mother sitting up in a chair in the living room waiting for you. She reminded you about curfew. Curfew? You haven't had a curfew since you left home for your first semester at UCLA nearly 10 years ago, long before the trouble began. At first glance, this might not sound too awful, but give any reader more than a few paragraphs of this and they're gonna burn out pretty quickly. Because nobody likes being told what to do, or even worse, how to feel. In second person, you're placing your reader into the life of the main character. You need them to feel at home in that role while still getting them to move forward through your story. That's the only way they'll accept what you say. But why would you ever have to tell someone all the minute details of their own life? You know your parents' names, you know the name of the school you went to, and you definitely know what happened last night. It was just last night. So unless your main character is suffering from terrible amnesia due to blunt force trauma, don't tell them what they should already know. But Adam, you say, they don't already know. They're just the reader. Doesn't matter. Think about it like this. Your reader should feel as though they were just body swapped into the life of your main character. No one's going to explain to them what's going on. No one's gonna hold their hand. Nobody's gonna treat them like they just arrived. They have to hit the ground running. They have to put it together for themselves. So, if we treat it that way, the scene sounds more like this. You wake up too early and it doesn't feel good. Hold still, but you can't hear anything. Dad's probably already at the office. Maybe mom's still asleep in the chair. Maybe she fell asleep there. It was pretty late. You should probably wake her up, but if you do, she's less likely to say sorry for all that curfew crap. At least divorce taught you one thing. Whatever, you should at least get yourself up, no matter how much this next part's going to suck. To me, this is the difference between writing up to second person and writing down to second person. The first example is writing up, aka it's basically just a third person story with all the pronouns changed to you. It's pretty easy to tell if you're writing up. All you have to do is read back through your story and switch all of your pronouns from yous to they, her, him, and if the piece reads just fine that way, you're writing up. Don't write up. Second person works best when you write down to it. It requires that you start from a place of personal immediacy, intimacy, the kind that first person does much better. Same test, just take what you've written and change all of your yous to I's. And if it still works just as well, you're writing down from first person to second person. Now this is horribly simplistic and not in any way a definitive treatise on how to write in second person. But if you've been curious about second person and thinking about dipping your toes in it, but you just don't know where to start, try this principle. noticeable. At the very least, it'll let you know if you're on the right track. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Left to Right. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments, was all of this just total crap? Have you ever written in second person? Any tips? Want to tell me I'm way off base? I'd love to talk about it.